Well, hi guys, welcome back to the 72 GT6 restoration on the Rusty Beauties channel. And you might think that it is Thursday today because what I said is I'm gonna work on this car on Thursdays, but guess what? It is Saturday and it is the day the first episode premiered, which was a fantastic thing. It went really well. I loved it. There were 150 people at some point watching, almost
180 something.
180?
Yeah, there was 180 something.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Anyway, so it is 1 hour after the video premiered, and I was so excited, and this guy as well, he was so excited to see what's going on with his engine that we decided that we're gonna tear it down today. So he came over. Hi, David.
Hello.
He came over, and we're gonna tear this engine apart and see why it is turning so easy. Take out this hose clamp from here. I guess it's about 35 years old.
There you go.
So we have the engine on the stand. If you haven't seen the first episode, I took it out of the car. The first, it's not the first, it was the 77th episode actually, but the first episode of the new season, let's go with. We took the engine out of the car and I tried to turn it over, and it turns like there's no pistons inside. There's absolutely no compression, which makes me think that the rings are seized or something, or maybe valves. But if valves are seized, there wouldn't be so many open valves that none of the cylinders would make compression. At least one cylinder needs to be in the firing stroke position of the valves. So anyways, without further ado, let's tear it apart. We have a table prepared over there. We have some tools prepared. Of course, a lot more tools are gonna come out of the toolbox soon. I was thinking I would wash it first before I take it apart, but since David is here...
Let's get crack-a-lacking.
Okay, let's get crack-a-lacking. He's reminding me that I'm rambling too much lately. Right, so we took the cover out and it's like all the valves are moving. The screw is here. So like I said to David just now, as we're taking stuff apart, we're gonna be inspecting it to make sure that everything is okay. So we're making a list already of things that we need to buy. So all valves are moving properly. There's no stuck valves. So
Actually, it looks nice and clean.
yeah. Anyway, it's good so far. Let's drain the oil too, because I know that the stick shows that there's no oil, but hey, easy. Well, it looks like somebody's been in this engine because there was silicone on the valve cover. Well, there's no gasket, I think. There was only silicone. Oh, there is gasket, but it was silicone there. And now I took the fuel pump out, and again, there's silicone on the gasket. So somebody's been inside, maybe not inside, but some parts have been replaced, I guess. Anyways, we're making progress here. We're still stripping the external components, making progress. Okay, another update. We're almost done with the external part. So you see here, it's just a single row chain here. So I have to research and see if I can use double row, just like on the TR6, because this chain has lots of slack. But at least everything else looks okay. The tensioner was in the right place because I've done, like, I took an engine apart before and the tensioner was going under the bottom pulley, so it wasn't making any sense. That, yeah, we removed the oil filter canister and there was no oil filter inside, so I'm guessing that before he took it out, Keith just drained the oil. That's why this is how much oil there was in it. Alright, so the timing mechanism is out and everything else is stripped, so we started with the internal part. So now we can start taking out the camshaft, and here that's important when you take this out to see if there's ridge, because sometimes the camshaft wears a ridge here, which I think we have here. I can feel it with my fingernail, so we're gonna buy another one. I don't think we can flip this. I'm not sure, maybe we are able to flip that. Okay, we're gonna take that after we take the head out and the top. So for the head, David removed all the bolts except I kept the two in the corner. They're just loose. What we're gonna do is we're gonna flip the head, we're gonna flip the engine upside down, and we're gonna use the gravity to help us take the head out, because, you know, sometimes it gets stuck. Now in this position, what I normally use is this lead hammer, so it's soft, and I tap the head out. Alright, so she split more in the back, less in the front. That's why I'm trying to work the front more. But it's like really seized there. There's one or two studs here somewhere in the front that are really seized. Alright, she's coming out, but I ran out of threads on this nut here, so I completely removed it, and David came up with this idea. We put a milk crate underneath so it doesn't fall too far. This side we still have the nut, we still have more room on it, so I'm just gonna keep going here. All right, so at this point, since it started going, we might just put it sideways and keep pushing it out. Wow, how is she so stubborn? Wow, unbelievable. This is the seized one, you see? No, I don't know which one it is, but...
Oh, this one's pretty rusty.
Yeah, but this side is moving. This side is the one that is stubborn. But... okay. This is wood, so... I think this one.
Okay. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh. So this is what your pistons would look like after sitting for 30 years,
Yeah.
35.
A lot of carbon on top there.
Yeah. So But it looks like the cylinders are in a good shape, which is good. Let's see how it turns over. So it looks like all the pistons are moving, which is a good sign. Probably the rings are seized, that's why it had no compression, because everything else looks okay. The cylinder bores look nice and clean, no scratches, like they're too shiny. Of course, for the 75,000 miles or whatever, there's absolutely no cross hatching left.
Shall we pull the cam?
Yes, now we can pull the cam. Some of the tappets are not in a very good shape, which makes me think that the cam is not in a great shape either, but now we're gonna inspect it better. Okay, so all the cams actually look okay, which is surprising. I'm gonna measure them though. I'm gonna measure the height of each and every one to make sure that they're not worn or anything, but at least there's no pitting, which is a very good thing, because a new cam is like 400, but we definitely need new tappets. Look at this one especially. So some of them are in a very good shape. Unfortunately, we couldn't keep the order, they fell apart, so we don't know which one went where, but some of them are really damaged. Some of them are like that. So anyways, we're gonna get 12 new tappets for sure. But the camshaft that's good news, that the camshaft is in a good shape. Okay, time to flip it again and disassemble the bottom end. Alright, take the pin out.
I want to go. Ow!
Fine. That's what it is to be chef. You go and do the easy part, and somebody's going after you.
That's right,
and
wash the
cleaning
dishes.
up.
That's right. Pick up all the lock washers. Somebody with smaller hands. It's a small hands job.
Dun, dun, dun. Look at that. No loose parts.
A little silicone in the oil screen.
Nice and clean, the oil pan, actually.
A little piece of silicone.
Not
I love when they look like buttons.
washers.
Yeah.
Alright, so David took the oil pump out and we're gonna inspect it now, so we know whether we need to order a new one or maybe just rotor and vine. We will see, because Keith, who gave me this car, told me that there's issues with the thrust washers. I want to check them before we go further. So I put a gauge here in the front, and that's how much it plays. So it's like 10 thou or 11 thou. I believe it needs to be between 5 and 8 thou. So when we take out the thrust washers, we're gonna see if they're worn or if the crankshaft is worn. But normally what I do is I order a standard set and a +5, so we can play with the amount of thrust washers that we put there. Sometimes I put 2 standard, sometimes I put 2 +5, sometimes I think on the last engine that I rebuilt, I put 1 standard and 1 +5 to bring it to the correct end plate. So just so we know, that's like 11 thou here. Now here is the oil pump, and the oil pump, well, I can already tell that I'm gonna need a new one because it's pretty scored here. But just for your information, there's 3 parts here. So there's the inner rotor, the outer rotor, and of course the cover. So there's 3 measurements that we need to take. When we put the inner and the outer rotor like this, if I remember correctly, don't quote me on that, you should go and check your spec, but I believe the measurement here was 4 thou. And let me measure this one with 4. Well, actually, that's pretty good here with 4 thou. This is 4, you see, and it's like pretty tight. So that's interesting. But the problem is that the top and the cover are screwed. I can't even put the 4 thou here. Anyway, the other measurement is between the housing and the outer rotor, which again I believe should be 4 thou. And yeah, it's like really tight. So actually this oil pump is very good, apart from the fact that it has the scrolled part on top.
Yeah, isn't there a flat edge measurement across the top? I mean, this
Yeah.
is not a proper flat edge, but...
And the third measurement is here across the top, which again, I don't remember how much it was supposed to be, and I don't want to go and check now, but it is less than 4 thou here. So I might be able to get away with this pump. So anyways, these are the 3 measurements that we need to take, and again, check your spec for the correct measurements. Don't quote me on what I'm saying here. Just for my information, in the video I'm gonna put what I found here, and then I'm gonna check later and see what I should do with this pump. And now we can start taking out the connecting rods with the pistons together. Now here at this point, many people would like to do plastic gauge measurement and see what they have. I don't see a reason for that. Why would I need to find out what it is now? I'm just gonna measure the crankshaft and I will know what bearings to use after, because I'm not putting the same bearings anyways. Even if I measure with a plastic gauge now and I find that they are still good, I'm gonna put new bearings. I'm not putting it with 35 years old bearings back. So I don't care whether it's right or wrong, the measurement now. Before we start taking them out though, we should go and make sure that all the
numbers?
Yeah, all the numbers are matching. So this is number 2, I can see here. This is number 5. Never seen an engine that didn't match the numbers, but just in case. So this is 3. I don't see that number very well, but yeah, it looks like 4. And this is 1, this is 6. Alright, so you see this is where the numbers are for the connecting rods. This says 1, this one says 6. I'm trying to find the correct angle. Yeah, you can see the 6 there, it's upside down. So here are the numbers on the main cups. So 4 here, you see they are matching the same orientation. 3 and 3 here. 2. The 2 is like, looks like their punch was a little bit worn, because only this line shows up, but it shows up the same way here. And number 1 we don't see, but
It's right there.
well, we see here, but we don't see the cup.
Yeah.
Anyways, everything is matching, so now we can start taking it apart. So the bearings are not bad at all.
Are you recording?
I think so.
I thought you turned it off.
No. Yeah, the bearings are not bad at all, and I want to see what it says in the back. It doesn't say anything, which means they're standard.
Is there a V on them at all?
A V? Yeah, it says KV.
Yeah, so those
KV.
are Vanderbilt bearings.
What are they?
Vanderbilt,
What does this mean?
usually the originals.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's the original bearing, so never been touched. Okay, so these we're gonna keep together because it's very important to keep them together, because each cap matches its own connecting rod. You can't mix those because the circle is not gonna be circle. Now look how loose this is. If I drop it, it's gonna fall down. Okay, let's see now what's going on here. Wow,
Nothing stuck.
the rings are not stuck. So they are worn? I don't know. There was absolutely no compression. I'm sure it was spinning so easy. I was expecting to see stuck rings. They're not stuck. Anyways, the connecting rod should be marked also here. So you see this is number 1. I don't know if you see, let me check. Yeah, it matches the cap. It matches the number on the cap, and also when you assemble them, you see this profile here has different profile than here, so you should match them when you assemble them this way. You can like you can put it this way as well, but you just can't. You shouldn't. So that's how they go. There's no play on the wrist pin here. Seems good. Well, then they should be worn. I don't see another reason why there was no compression. So that's 1. Let's do 6 because that's how they go. Maybe you're right. Maybe I need hammer. And the bearings look really good. Again, making sure the numbers match. 6. Crank looks good. It needs polishing, but it's not scratched. Hopefully all the other ones are like that too. And these rings are not seized as well. So now here, if you remember in the previous video, when I removed the flywheel, I removed also the bolts from this rear seal housing. You see now I don't have access, but I can remove the housing now, no problem. Threads here, these threaded holes here, are notorious for being stripped, so when you're putting it back together, you need to be very careful with the torque here. You have to remove the front engine plate too. I believe all the bolts are out. So we're gonna check it for flatness. It came out with a dowel, be careful. And now David already removed, there's 2 screws in the sealing block here in the front, so same thing here. This sealing block, the original, is aluminum. Now they sell steel ones, but the aluminum one, the original, sometimes the threaded holes here get stripped. These 2 and these in the front, so careful with this when you assemble it back. And these bearings look beautiful too, but doesn't matter, we're putting new ones. Alright, I'm gonna take it out. Trust washers came off.
Grab the other end of this.
So this is the crank. It doesn't look bad. Might need just polishing. We might get lucky. We might just need rings and okay, let me not push my luck. But it's gonna be great if we can keep the pistons, because I don't want to buy new pistons. Yeah, these bearings look good as well.
Really good.
So I might get lucky with this engine. Okay, I'll flip the block again. I want to see, I didn't pay attention to the ridge.
Pressure washer.
Okay, and these are the cylinders inside. This one looks like there's some rust in it. But there's no ridge. That's the good thing. There's absolutely no ridge, which means that they shouldn't be worn. Okay, can't wait to measure them. Alright, so next we should measure everything and assess the measurements, because other than the measurements we know everything now. We have all the information of what parts we need, and to be honest, we don't need much. We might need new oil pump, and we might need new tappets. That's everything for now. Of course, we need new bearings, new rings, but other than that, like, all the parts look good. Oh, we also need to take apart the head. I'm gonna have to decide whether I want to install hardened valve seats, but again, that's gonna be a different video. Let me just quickly talk a little bit about the differences between TR6 engine and GT6 engine, because people keep asking me, and to be honest, I'm not a specialist. This is the first GT6 engine that I'm disassembling. So what I see visually so far, maybe the block is a little bit shorter. Every time I use a gasket for here, for the front engine plate, I find in the kit two different gaskets, and one is a little bit shorter, one is a little bit taller. And I always use the taller one for TR6. So now is the time to see if the shorter one is the one that matches this engine. So this is a gasket that I had left over from one of the sets that I bought for TR6, and this is the one that doesn't match. So let's see if it is gonna match here. Nope, it doesn't match here as well. Like, at least these pins, like you see here, these are off. So that's not different. So this end should be the same as TR6. So I still don't know why they provide this gasket. But I got gasket sets from different suppliers, from different manufacturers, and they all come with two of these gaskets, because one is a little bit longer, one is a little bit shorter. Like, does anybody know why we have these different gaskets inside?
Can I guess?
Yeah?
Maybe it's for the saloon cars with the 6-cylinder engine.
Maybe you're right. Anyways, the next difference is the crankshaft. I might find in one of my previous videos a crankshaft from TR6, so you can, and put a picture here so you can see the difference. But look at how little offset there is here between the journos and the pins. You see, on the TR6, I don't remember the numbers, but the offset is a little bit bigger, which makes the stroke of the connecting rod and of the piston much bigger on the TR6 compared to the GT6. The cylinder bores and the pistons are the same diameter for TR6 and for GT6, but as you may know, TR6 has 2.5 liters volume and the GT6 has 2 liters volume. That's the reason why, even though the cylinders are the same size, the piston goes up and down much less. That makes the volume smaller, and that's due to the different crankshaft. In this case, I was thinking then the crankshaft needs to be, on GT6 it needs to be higher in order for the piston to reach the top again, because the offset here is smaller, right? But David corrected me. He says maybe the piston is longer for this reason, because we can see clearly that this is a longer piston than the TR6. Maybe that's the reason why, because maybe the wrist pin is mounted lower on the piston for this exact reason. So I'm not sure if the connecting rods are the same for GT6 and TR6, and for sure I know that the pistons are not the same, so that's also part of the differences between the TR6 and GT6 engines. And I actually know someone who gave his engine to a shop to be rebuilt, and after they rebuilt it, it was running but very weak. It was a TR6 engine, I don't know if I mentioned that. And when they took it apart in a different shop to see what's going on, they found out that they installed a GT6 crank in it. So the piston wasn't going all the way up and all the way down on the TR6 engine. The head is also different on the GT6 compared to the TR6, actually to the TR6 that came in North America. I believe the TR6s that stayed in England have the same head as this one. The difference between the North American TR6s and GT6 head is that the TR6 has a higher head. They did that because of the regulations in North America at that time. They increased the height of the head, which made the combustion chamber bigger, which reduced the compression ratio. But again, the GT6 has the lower height of the head and smaller combustion chamber, which actually doesn't necessarily mean that the compression ratio is as high as on the TR6 with the lower head, because we have a lower piston stroke too. So I don't know what exactly the compression ratio is for the GT6, but in future episodes we're gonna find this out. We're gonna measure the volume of the chamber and everything. The valves are the same for TR6 and GT6, and they have the same change in the years at some point. I don't know what year, but the exhaust valve from a bigger diameter became smaller diameter, but that's valid for TR6 and GT6 as well. And of course, there are other differences. The water pump looks different. Actually, the water pump might be the same. The thermostat housing is what looks different on GT6. We found out that the pulley is different. What else we found out different? Some of
oil pan's different.
Yes, the oil pan looks different. It has this indent here. That's, I'm guessing this is for the steering rack. But other than that, I think it's the same. Like this shape here is the same. And that's it. The oil pump looks the same. The distributor pedestal looks the same. So that's it. Oh, and the oil filter housing is shorter because I guess fitment issues. All right, so we're gonna cut this video here and we're gonna inspect further in the next one. I'm gonna measure the crank, I'm gonna measure the cylinder bores, and that's gonna tell us whether we need any machining. Hopefully not. And of course I'm gonna take the head apart and see what the seats look like, whether we can use the same valves or we need to buy other valves. But with the inspection so far, I know what parts I need. The only question is what size bearings and whether I need new pistons and whether I need new valves. So that's gonna be it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for commenting and subscribing, thanks for supporting the channel, thanks for hanging out in the garage with us. We had fun here with David taking it apart, so see you in the next one. Bye. He says bye.